surprised about my bike is I ended up gearing it down. So I'm in 6th gear right now, and like those last corners, then they're slow corners, but I still don't even have to downshift because this one, the way that it's geared, then it'll still have some, like a little bit of torque. Not very much torque, because it's only 250, but it has just enough to where as long as you're not bombing into the corner or something, trying to go crazy fast, which I'm on knobbies, so that's not the best idea anyway, because you have limited grip. But if you end up going into a corner, then it's fine. Like it'll, as long as you're not going like crazy fast, then you'll be okay. But even though this bike is slow, or relatively slow, and it's on knobby tires, then it's still fun doing corners like this. You can't push it as far as you'd push a street bike, just because you don't really know when you're going to run out of grip, but it's definitely going to be way faster that you will run out of grip than a street bike. So be super careful if you're trying to do some canyon carving or whatever else you want to call it, but it's still fun. It's just not quite as on the limit probably as what a street bike would be, and it's definitely not as fast as I can go on corners on my Yamaha MT-07. But it's still fun. If you're more financially limited, because a bike like this, like I got this one used pretty cheap, but even if you buy a brand new one, like I could have bought almost 2 of these bikes brand new, like 250Ls, which now would be a 350L because they don't make the 250L anymore in the United States anyway. Then you can buy 2 of the 250Ls for what one of the Yamaha MT-07s cost. So is it twice the bike for a Yamaha MT-07 as far as price? Like, is it worth twice the money? Maybe, but it depends on how you're gonna ride it. If you're gonna ride like highways, or you want to go fast, or you're just gonna do street bike stuff and you got the money to spend on a Yamaha MT-07, buy it, because it is an awesome bike. Like, I love my MT-07. It's perfect. Like, I'm not the type of person that wants to go like 150 on the highway, whatever. Like, that's not fun to me. I like doing backroad stuff like this, so I would way rather have a bike that has the torque when I want it and isn't worried about super high speed stuff like an R6 or an R1 or like any 600cc or 1000cc like street bike, full-blown street bike. Then that's just not my riding style. Nothing against those, because they are stupid fast, like stupid fast, but that's just not what I like to do. So I'd rather have an MT-07 that has low-end torque for getting around instead of getting something like that. But if you don't quite have the money to get an MT-07 or something like that, you can even get like a 400cc street bike, and that's plenty. Like, I guarantee, especially when you're starting out, then like a Ninja 400 or a Z400 or something like that, or even like like an R3, that's gonna be plenty of bike for you until you get used to it. And even Ninja 400s, like they race those on the racetrack all the time. Like there's classes specifically for Ninja 400s because they are really good track bikes. So 90% of people, a Ninja 400 is going to be way more capable than what your skill level is. Like you can pretend like you're some super fast person or whatever, but I about guarantee that that Ninja 400 can outperform what you can do. So is an MT-07 worth twice as much money as what a Ninja 400 is? I don't know. It'd be hard to say. I wanted an MT-07. I sold one of my cars and I ended up making enough money off of that car to where I could buy an MT-07, and I love it. So if you have the money, go for it. If you don't have the money, or you're gonna have to pay payments on a bike especially, then you might be better off just getting a 400, because it's gonna be almost half the price. But it's also a buy once, cry once scenario if you just buy the bike that you want. Because if you're going to upgrade later, then maybe you will be better off just spending the extra money and buying like a 700cc or something like that instead of getting a 400. Because it would still be a good beginner's bike. Because it's got so much torque that you could stay, like if you're in the wrong gear and you're not used to needing to be higher up in the revs or something like that, then it's still got plenty of power for you to basically make mistakes. And if you don't downshift quite the way you should into a corner or something like that, you can lug the motor around and you'll be fine. And it's not a big deal. But like a sport bike, they want to live in the higher RPMs. So if you don't get it in the right RPM, then you're going to have no torque trying to go around. So you really just need to kind of look at what your riding is going to be and then buy a bike based off of that. But when you're starting out, it's hard to know what your riding even is going to be. Because like I did dirt bikey stuff, and I figured that I would like gravel road riding stuff, but there's people that hate it. Because gravel roads are kind of sketchy. So, if you don't like being scared when you're riding, then gravel roads probably aren't for you. Unless you go super slow, and then you might be okay and it won't scare you or whatever. But as you get used to gravel road riding more and more, then you'll start going faster and faster and faster, and then you're gonna end up wanting to go 40, 45, 50 mile an hour on a gravel road. And if you're not careful, then it'll bite you. And if it bites you on gravel, that's not gonna be very fun. But like this bike, it's doing these corners and it's fine. I mean, I'm not going crazy fast or anything, but it's still fun. Like, I'm still enjoying myself. Barely rode my MT-07, like 700cc street bike, like 200 miles yesterday. Hop on this with a quarter of the power, literally, and still having a blast. Also depends on what roads you ride. Like these rides are perfect for lower cc, slower bikes because they got so many corners. But a bike like this, where you can get out and you can do back roady stuff like this, and also do gravel road stuff and also do off-road stuff, and it just opens up the possibilities of all these different types of riding. And then once you know what type of riding that you do, then later on then you could upgrade, and you could either go to like an MT-07 and have like more of a street bike, or you could get like a Tenere 700 if you can find one, and do more off-roady stuff. Still like a 700cc bike that if you want to do on-road stuff, it'll still do it. It's not going to do on-road stuff as good as like an MT-07 would, because it's got knobbies on it, but it'll still have plenty of power for anything you want to do. And you could do more of like adventure bike riding type stuff. I don't really understand adventure bikes because they weigh too much, in my opinion. Like a full-blown adventure bike, by full discretion, I've never rode one. Maybe if I rode one, then I would have a different opinion about them, but it seems odd to get like a 500 or 600 pound off-roady bike, because that's a lot of weight to try and lug around, especially if you drop it, and especially if you drop it multiple times in a short period of time. That is not going to be fun to pick up. Like, I was trying to go up a hill that I probably shouldn't have been trying to go up, honestly, because it was way wetter than I had anticipated. But I was trying to go up a hill on this, and I ended up dropping it like, I don't even know how, legitimately probably at least 10 times in a very short period of time, trying to go up this hill, because it just would not go up the hill, and it kept doing burnouts constantly on top of the mud that I was on, and the dead leaves and all that, and it was just pretty miserable time. And I was getting super tired. I'm not a super giant dude, but I'm not a real small human either. And my bike only weighs 300 pounds, and I was exhausted by the time I got done. Like, it was brutal. So I can't even fathom trying to do that with like a 500 or 600 pound motorcycle. Which, to be fair, people that do adventure bike stuff probably aren't doing like legitimate off-road hill climbs, whatever. And if they are, then they're probably really good at it, and it's not really as big of an issue for them. But for me, that's a no-go. I'd rather get, like, now they have the 300s, like Honda CRF 300Ls, and that would probably be plenty. They weigh like 300 pounds, which is still not super light, but way better than 500 pounds, 450 or whatever they weigh, 600 pounds, some of them, for like the full-size adventure bikes. It doesn't make sense to me. But it all depends on your riding that you're going to do. But starting out on a dual sport, then you can kind of learn what your riding style even is. And people are trying to murder me. Because this, you can do everything. Like if you got a 300L, you can ride all kinds of different stuff. And then figure out what you want.